The Eagle Gang, the Zhang Jun Story. In the 1990s, as China underwent dramatic economic transformation and rapid modernization, a new breed of criminal emerged to exploit the changing social landscape. Between 1993 and 2000, Zhang Jun and his associates terrorized multiple provinces across southern and central China, committing a series of audacious robberies that would claim 28 lives and wound 23 others. Operating with military precision and ruthless efficiency, Zhang Jun became known as China's #1 outlaw, leading what authorities dubbed the Eagle Gang, a sophisticated criminal organization that targeted banks, jewelry stores, and high-end establishments across 5 provinces. This is the story of one of modern China's most notorious criminals, whose 7-year crime spree would culminate in one of the largest manhunts in Chinese history. To understand the emergence of Zhang Jun as a criminal mastermind, we must first examine the China of the 1990s. The country was experiencing unprecedented economic growth following Deng Xiaoping's market reforms. But this prosperity was unevenly distributed. While coastal cities flourished, rural areas and inland provinces often lagged behind, creating stark inequalities that would fuel resentment and desperation. The rapid pace of change had disrupted traditional social structures and created new opportunities for both legitimate business and criminal enterprise. The emergence of private wealth, luxury goods, and cash-intensive businesses provided attractive targets for those willing to use violence to seize what the new economy had denied them. During this period, law enforcement agencies were still adapting to the challenges of policing a modernizing society. Coordination between different provinces was often poor, and criminal organizations could exploit jurisdictional boundaries to evade capture. It was in this environment that Zhang Jun would develop into one of China's most dangerous criminals. Zhang Jun was born on August 5, 1966, in Hualin Village, Changde City, in Hunan Province, into a family marked by poverty and struggle. He was the youngest of 7 brothers and sisters, competing for limited resources in a household that could barely sustain itself. The economic hardships of Zhang Jun's childhood would prove formative in shaping his later criminal career. Unable to afford continuing his education, he dropped out of school during his first year of high school to participate in social activities, a euphemism that suggested he was already engaging in questionable pursuits. Zhang Jun's early criminal behavior manifested in 1989 when he was arrested and sentenced to labor reform, a form of punishment that combined imprisonment with forced work. This experience with the Chinese penal system, rather than rehabilitating him, appears to have hardened his criminal resolve and provided him with connections to other offenders. Following his release from labor reform, Zhang Jun began the systematic criminal career that would make him infamous throughout China. His transformation from petty criminal to sophisticated gang leader demonstrated both intelligence and a complete lack of regard for human life. In 1993, Zhang Jun embarked on his first serious criminal venture with his friend Liu Baogang, planning a robbery in Anxiang County. However, this early attempt at organized crime went disastrously wrong when the robbery failed and Zhang accidentally injured his companion during their escape. Faced with the possibility of capture and the risk that Liu might implicate him to authorities, Zhang Jun made a decision that revealed his capacity for cold-blooded murder. Rather than seek medical help for his injured friend, he killed Liu with a hammer and disposed of his corpse, eliminating the only witness to their failed crime. This first murder appears to have removed any psychological barriers Zhang Jun may have had against taking human life. Unable to return home after killing his accomplice, he fled to Guangxi province where he killed a Hubei businessman before the Spring Festival, demonstrating that murder had become an acceptable tool for his criminal enterprises. It was in Guangxi that Zhang Jun began to develop the systematic approach that would characterize his later crimes. He formed a relationship with a mistress who provided him with money, which he used to purchase his first pistol, a weapon that would become central to his modus operandi. Perhaps most disturbing of all, Zhang Jun began to practice his killing techniques with the same methodical approach he would later apply to his robberies. He lured 2 escorts to a mountain location where he murdered them both, later explaining that he wanted to practice killing people quickly and efficiently. By the mid-1990s, Zhang Jun had evolved from a desperate individual criminal into the leader of a sophisticated criminal organization. The group that authorities would later dub the Eagle Gang operated with a level of planning and coordination that set them apart from ordinary criminals. The gang's name came from their reconnaissance methodology. They would find high points above their targets and gather as much information as possible about the vicinity before striking. This systematic approach to intelligence gathering allowed them to identify security weaknesses and plan precise escape routes. Every member of the Eagle Gang was tightly disciplined and trained as an expert in their respective fields. Zhang Jun had recruited individuals with specific skills. Some were experts at disabling security systems, others specialized in weapons handling, and still others were skilled drivers capable of high-speed escapes through urban environments. On December 22, 1995, Zhang Jun launched what would become a legendary series of high-profile robberies. His first major target was the Chongqing Friendship Store, where his gang killed one person and stole gold jewelry worth 455,000 yuan, a substantial sum that demonstrated both their ambition and their willingness to use lethal force. Almost exactly 1 year later, on December 25, 1996, Zhang Jun struck again, this time targeting Shanghai's first department store. The Christmas Day robbery netted the gang gold jewelry worth more than 630,000 yuan and established a pattern of targeting upscale retail establishments during busy shopping periods. The audacity of robbing major stores in China's largest cities during peak shopping times revealed Zhang Jun's confidence and his understanding of how to exploit the chaos of crowded commercial areas. The gang could strike quickly and disappear into the crowds before security forces could respond effectively. On November 27, 1997, Zhang Jun's gang struck the Changsha Friendship Mall in what would become one of their most violent robberies. 2 people were killed during this attack, and the gang escaped with gold jewelry worth 1.372 million yuan, their largest haul to date. The increasing value of their thefts reflected the gang's growing sophistication and their ability to identify the most valuable targets. They had moved beyond opportunistic crime to become specialized in high-value robberies that required extensive planning and precise execution. On December 20, 1998, Zhang Jun demonstrated his willingness to attack law enforcement directly when his gang raided a public security checkpoint and toll station in Hebei province. 2 people were killed in this brazen assault on government facilities, showing that Zhang Jun viewed police as just another obstacle to overcome. On January 4, 1999, Zhang Jun's gang committed one of their most audacious robberies at Wuhan Square in Wuhan. They targeted the gold jewelry cabinet in broad daylight, killing one person and stealing 30,000 yuan in cash plus gold jewelry worth 2.634 million yuan, by far their most valuable single theft. The Wuhan robbery demonstrated the gang's ability to operate in major metropolitan areas with impunity. Despite the massive police presence typical of large Chinese cities, Zhang Jun's gang could strike at will and escape before authorities could mount an effective response. The pattern of their crimes revealed Zhang Jun's strategic thinking. He consistently targeted gold jewelry because it was portable, valuable, and easily converted to cash. The gang had essentially turned robbery into a business, with Zhang Jun serving as both CEO and operational commander. On August 15, 2000, Zhang Jun's gang committed what would prove to be among their final robberies when they attacked the president of the Agricultural Bank of Anxiang County. 2 people were killed in this assault, and the gang stole 16,000 yuan, a relatively modest sum that suggested they may have been running short of major targets. Their final and most devastating crime occurred on September 1, 2000, when Zhang Jun's gang robbed a cash transport truck in Changde. 7 people were killed in this attack, the highest single-incident death toll of their entire crime spree. The gang also stole 2 small submachine guns and 20 bullets, significantly upgrading their firepower. The robbery of the cash truck represented both the pinnacle of the gang's audacity and the beginning of their downfall. The massive death toll and the theft of military-grade weapons triggered an unprecedented law enforcement response that would ultimately lead to their capture. The scale and brutality of Zhang Jun's crimes had not gone unnoticed by Chinese authorities. The gang's ability to operate across multiple provinces while consistently evading capture had become a national embarrassment for law enforcement agencies. The investigation into the Eagle Gang involved coordination between multiple provincial police forces and eventually attracted the attention of national-level law enforcement agencies. The case became a test of the Chinese criminal justice system's ability to track and capture sophisticated criminals operating across jurisdictional boundaries. Zhang Jun's psychological profile emerged as investigators studied his crimes. He appeared to derive satisfaction not just from the financial gains of his robberies, but from the terror and chaos his actions created. Witnesses reported that he would sometimes taunt victims and law enforcement, revealing a sadistic personality that enjoyed the power his violence provided. The end came for Zhang Jun on September 19, 2000, when Chongqing police finally issued an arrest warrant and moved to capture him. The timing was crucial, just 18 days after the devastating Chang-to-Cash truck robbery that had claimed 7 lives. Zhang Jun was arrested along with one of his mistresses, Quan Hongyan, who had been hospitalized with him when police moved in. According to reports, Zhang Jun was found in possession of a military hand grenade when captured, indicating that he had been prepared for a violent final confrontation with law enforcement. The arrest was personally overseen by Wen Qiang, then Deputy Director of the Chongqing Municipal Public Security Bureau, demonstrating the high priority that authorities placed on capturing Zhang Jun. Wen Qiang personally interrogated the captured criminal, seeking to understand the full scope of his organization's activities. Following Zhang Jun's arrest, the full scope of his criminal empire became clear. From June 1993 to September 2000, Zhang Jun and his associates had robbed a total of 22 establishments across 5 provinces: Chongqing, Hunan, Hubei, Yunnan, and Guangxi. The human toll of their crimes was staggering. 28 people killed and 23 wounded over 7 years of systematic violence. The total amount stolen was alleged to be 5.36 million yuan, a fortune by Chinese standards of the time equivalent to hundreds of thousands of dollars. The geographic spread of their crimes demonstrated the sophistication of Zhang Jun's operation. The gang had successfully operated across multiple provinces, exploiting weaknesses in interprovincial law enforcement coordination to avoid capture for 7 years. On April 14, 2001, Zhang Jun faced justice in the First Intermediate People's Court of Chongqing. He was sentenced to death for intentional homicide and robbery, and deprived of political rights for life, the harshest possible punishment under Chinese law. The trial was notable not just for its legal proceedings, but for its broader social and political implications. The case had attracted significant media attention, and Zhang Jun had become a symbol of the lawlessness that many Chinese feared was emerging alongside the country's rapid economic development. The swift progression from arrest to execution, just 8 months, reflected the Chinese criminal justice system's determination to demonstrate that even the most sophisticated criminals could not escape justice. The case became part of China's Strike Hard campaign against serious crime. On May 20, 2001, Zhang Jun was executed in Chongqing, bringing to an end one of modern China's most notorious criminal careers. His death marked the conclusion of a case that had terrorized multiple provinces and challenged the effectiveness of Chinese law enforcement. The execution of Zhang Jun was part of a broader crackdown on organized crime that characterized China's approach to maintaining social order during its period of rapid economic transformation. The message was clear. Criminal violence would not be tolerated regardless of its sophistication or scope. Zhang Jun's case had lasting implications for Chinese law enforcement, leading to improved coordination between provincial police forces and the development of new techniques for tracking criminals who operated across multiple jurisdictions. The Zhang Jun case attracted significant media coverage and became embedded in Chinese popular culture as a symbol of the dark side of rapid social change. His story was seen as a cautionary tale about what could happen when economic desperation combined with criminal intelligence. The case also raised uncomfortable questions about inequality and social justice in modern China. Zhang Jun's background of rural poverty resonated with many Chinese who felt left behind by the country's economic miracle, though few would defend his violent methods. In 2020, nearly 2 decades after Zhang Jun's execution, his story was adapted into the crime action film Caught in Time. The movie, starring Daniel Wu and Wang Qianyuan, depicted the cat-and-mouse game between Zhang Jun's gang and the police officers who pursued them. The film, Caught in Time, portrayed Zhang Jun as the leader of the Eagle Gang, with the character renamed Zhang Sun and given the codename Falcon. The movie emphasized the sophisticated planning and ruthless efficiency that had characterized the real Zhang Jun's criminal operations. Director Lau Ho-leung's adaptation took considerable dramatic license with the actual events, creating a stylized action thriller that captured the essence of the cat-and-mouse game between criminals and police. The film was a box office success in China, earning over $80 million and leading the Chinese box office for 2 weeks. The movie's success demonstrated the continued fascination with Zhang Jun Story and its relevance to contemporary Chinese society. However, the film also served as propaganda, ending with a title card proclaiming that thanks to increased surveillance and strict gun laws, China had become one of the safest countries in the world. The Zhang Jun case provided crucial lessons for Chinese law enforcement agencies dealing with sophisticated criminal organizations. The gang's ability to operate across multiple provinces highlighted the need for better coordination and information sharing between different police forces. The investigation demonstrated the importance of tracking patterns in criminal behavior and recognizing when apparently separate crimes might be connected. Zhang Jun's gang had exploited the lack of communication between provincial authorities to avoid detection for years. The case also showed the value of forensic evidence and systematic investigation techniques. The eventual capture of Zhang Jun resulted from patient police work and the gradual accumulation of evidence rather than lucky breaks or informant tips. The Zhang Jun case occurred during a critical period in Chinese history when the country was grappling with the social consequences of rapid economic development. The emergence of sophisticated criminal organizations like the Eagle Gang reflected broader tensions about inequality, opportunity, and social justice. Zhang Jun's background, rural poverty, limited education, early involvement with the criminal justice system, was shared by many young Chinese men who felt excluded from the country's economic miracle. However, the vast majority channeled their frustrations into legal pursuits rather than criminal violence. The case highlighted the importance of social safety nets and economic opportunity in preventing the emergence of criminal organizations. Zhang Jun's transformation from petty criminal to mass murderer suggested that early intervention might have prevented his escalation to serious violence. More than 2 decades after Zhang Jun's execution, his case continues to resonate in contemporary China. The country has indeed become much safer, with sophisticated surveillance systems and strict gun control making it difficult for similar criminal organizations to operate. However, the underlying social and economic factors that contributed to Zhang Jun's criminal career, inequality, rural poverty, limited social mobility, remain challenges for Chinese society. The country's continued economic development has reduced but not eliminated these risk factors. The Zhang Jun case serves as a reminder of the importance of maintaining both effective law enforcement and social justice to prevent the emergence of criminal organizations that exploit societal weaknesses. Behind the statistics and dramatic narratives of the Zhang Jun case were real human beings whose lives were cut short by his violence. The 28 people killed and 23 wounded in his crimes were shop employees, security guards, police officers, and innocent bystanders who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. These victims included the shop worker killed in the Chongqing Friendship Store robbery, the security personnel who died defending the Changsha Friendship Mall, and the 7 people murdered during the Changde cash truck heist. Each death represented not just a statistic, but a family destroyed and a community traumatized. The psychological impact of Zhang Jun's crimes extended far beyond the immediate victims to include family members, colleagues, and community members who lived in fear of his next attack. The random nature of much of his violence meant that anyone working in retail, banking, or security could potentially become a target. From a criminological perspective, Zhang Jun represented a relatively rare type of criminal, the organized serial killer who combined systematic murder with financial gain. His crimes demonstrated characteristics of both serial killing and organized crime, making him particularly dangerous. Zhang Jun's escalation from petty crime to mass murder followed a pattern often seen in criminal careers, But the sophistication of his organization and the scale of his violence were exceptional. His ability to recruit and manage other criminals while maintaining operational security showed significant intelligence and leadership capability. The sadistic elements of his crimes, such as practicing murder techniques on innocent victims, suggested psychological pathology beyond simple greed or desperation. Zhang Jun appeared to derive pleasure from violence itself, not just from its practical benefits. The legacy of Zhang Jun's crimes extends beyond their immediate impact to influence contemporary Chinese approaches to crime prevention and criminal justice. The case demonstrated the need for comprehensive strategies that address both law enforcement and social policy. Modern China's emphasis on technological surveillance, strict gun control, and rapid police response times reflects lessons learned from cases like Zhang Jun's. The country has invested heavily in preventing the emergence of similar criminal organizations. However, the most important lesson from the Zhang Jun case may be the need to address underlying social conditions that can foster criminal behavior. Poverty, inequality, and lack of opportunity remain the best predictors of criminal involvement. Today, the cities where Zhang Jun once terrorized shoppers and merchants have been transformed by continued economic development and modern security measures. Chongqing, Changsha, Wuhan, and the other locations of his crimes are now major metropolitan areas with sophisticated law enforcement and extensive surveillance systems. The China of the 2020s is indeed much safer than the China of the 1990s where Zhang Jun operated. However, his story serves as a reminder that criminal violence can emerge from any society when social conditions create desperation and opportunity intersects with individual pathology. The transformation of Zhang Jun from a poor rural youth to China's most notorious criminal demonstrates how social, economic, and individual factors can combine to create monsters. His 7-year reign of terror cost 28 lives and terrorized millions, but it also provided crucial lessons about the importance of social justice, effective law enforcement, and the need to address root causes of criminal behavior. As China continues to develop and modernize, the story of Zhang Jun remains relevant as both a historical record and a cautionary tale. His crimes remind us that prosperity alone cannot guarantee safety, and that vigilance against both criminal violence and the social conditions that foster it must remain priorities for any civilized society. Zhang Jun's reign of terror didn't just steal lives, it exposed the cracks in a rapidly changing society. In the shadows of modernization, he built an empire of fear, reminding us all that when desperation meets opportunity, even order can bleed. If this true story gripped you, challenged your perspective, or made you reflect, please like, share, and subscribe to Weird World Wonders, where we explore the human cost of history's darkest turns. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay informed, and never forget the victims behind the headlines.